Oh,
Live.
yes, indeed.
Yes.
We're live.
All right. So, for those of us, helps if I hit record, doesn't it? Okay. Uh, uh, for those
Only a
of
few
us,
technical snafus today. Sorry, carry
oh, technical snafus. I love
on.
them. I
No.
love them. All right. Well, at least I can see you now. And
Cool.
importantly,
And here,
you can hear me. That's the important
indeed,
part.
that makes a big difference.
I don't know what the heck was going on, but we're a minute or so late because Zoom refused to hear my microphone, and I don't know why. It's actually the built-in integration in Ecamm, and so I'm not running Zoom separately. I'm running it as part of the of Ecamm. You know, it's built into Ecamm. So when you do a Zoom meeting, it pops
Yeah.
up what looks like a micro version of a Zoom application, but it's really not. It's that integration, and it just refused to see the virtual mic. And I even tried switching to the MacBook mic and all that. Didn't work. So the good news is we got a thumbs up. We got somebody watching us. That means that this is working. Um, I
Yay.
I think it means it's working. And I did send a quick text to Eric if he's joining us. Told him we had to call an audible and sent him the link for joining if he can. So
Fabulous.
hello, Brian. Ooh, he updated his handle on YouTube. That's cool. Yeah,
Okie doke.
very nice. How are you? How are you, Brian? Brian, of course, joined us last episode. Brian F.A. Brian F.A.
Indeed, yes. He's in the audience now rather than the other side of the screen, as it were.
Exactly. Exactly. So, um, oh, housekeeping. I do want to mention this in the episode, but next month is bonkers. The whole schedule is messed up. So early September, we can't record early September. We got something going on then. The second recording in September, which would be September 27th. So this is a question for you, Darren.
Okay.
This would be September 27th. Um, I'm actually, this came up since, remember when I released the schedule and said, here's how we're going to wrap up the rest of season 20?
Yep.
That's changed. So since I sent that to you, a business
Yeah.
trip has come up for September 27th. But I could,
Right.
if you are able to, fall back to September 25th, which would be a Friday,
Yeah, like the old days. Yeah,
like
a
the old
Friday
days.
night.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, you can do that. No worries.
Okay. So if you can do September 25th, then we can still get a September episode in, and that will be just in time for Snow Tahoe or Golden. What is it? Golden Gate. Golden Gate? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
uh, yeah, yeah.
I'm so used to calling it Snow
Golden
Tahoe
toast.
now that I lost track of what it's actually called. Golden Gate. So that'll be in time for that, and we can do perhaps we can
Oh,
do
that'd be good actually. Yeah, a
yeah,
bit of a
a
roundup
little
of
getting ready
what's coming.
for Golden Gate type thing. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect.
And then let's see. Today, I literally took your questions and made them the outline. So
Oh, great.
I
Okay, that cool.
yeah, as we do, I've got a little intro, very short intro, and then we'll go into your first question. And I actually have a question about your first question. So there you go.
Excellent. That sounds good. Very good.
I need some caffeine after that. All right.
uh, Probably
So,
need therapy after that one. Actually.
oh, Oh, this is interesting. Well, he put it in the chat room, so I guess he doesn't mind sharing. But Brian wrote, oh, you know what? I can't do active speaker because I have to switch over to you because we're not using Zoom. Oh dear. All right, let's do this,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
then we'll. Yep,
Active
there we
speaker
go.
no, it doesn't
Boom.
work.
All right.
Cool.
Now I got you in there. Now I can put Brian's comment up there. Um, hope you both busy weekend with technical issues related to my wife's phone or phone service. Ah, indeed,
Uh-oh.
that is a story for another day. You know, that's something that people run into all the time, especially if, in my ever so humble opinion, you make the mistake of going into a phone store and trying to get them to
Oh,
help
no.
you. Yes. I don't know what the story
Oh,
is here. It's a story for another day, as Brian said. But um, I've taken to pretty much using MVNOs all the time. Um, I don't know
yeah. Yeah, sure.
about you if you stick with the main carriers or not, but um, I recently switched from one MVNO that I wasn't unhappy with to another that's owned by a or was owned by an actor who also happens to own a Welsh football team.
Oh, yes. Is he
Yes,
Canadian?
yes, the Canadian, and
That's it.
I think he's still involved somehow, but it's now owned
Sure.
by an international conglomerate, and
Oh, no.
well, an international pink conglomerate,
Right.
right? And I mean, if they'd like to pay me to talk about them, then I'll be happy to mention their name. But anyway, so I recently switched over to this new MVNO because one, their pricing was way better. Two, it's a pretty reliable
Yeah.
network. The previous network was on three initial carrier that used to go by American Telephone and Telegraph, and no longer does. And switched over to this new one and have been pretty happy. And part of the reason I switched is because I wanted to also switch to their internet service. So
Oh,
that's what
right.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It
it's
makes
a
things
bundle.
convenient to have your ISP and your phone on the same setup. Quite handy. But then I suppose in a way all your eggs are in one basket. But it does mean that if you do have an issue with either, you just ring in the same people and they'll sort out your phone line, Wi-Fi connections, or your phone.
in,
So it
in
makes no
theory.
difference. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
in theory,
In
indeed.
theory, that would work. Um, and fortunately, I've not had to do that yet. But the pricing was phenomenal. I'm paying $10 more per month now than I was paying before, but for that 10 extra dollars, I'm getting not only unlimited phone service and hotspot service, which I did not have before,
Oh, that's handy.
unlimited phone hotspot and the internet service. So
Cool,
all
cool.
over, 5G for $10 more per month. So it worked out to be a pretty good deal, and I paid ahead for a year, and that saved quite a bit as well to do that. So
Yeah, yeah. It can be difficult to figure out what's wrong when something goes awry on your phone. Because is it something to
yeah,
do with the phone itself or settings, etc., or is it nothing to do with that at all and it's all down to your carrier? So it's difficult to figure out which is which. That's your primary task, isn't it? When something goes wrong, figure out which one of these 50 things it can be. Then that gives you the roads to go down, and you can ignore all the other complexities of the other things that clearly isn't.
exactly. And while I had a very smooth experience switching over to this new MVNO, apparently Brian has not. He said that
Yeah.
his wife had quite an issue with that actor-owned company, and now is with a different MVNO. So everybody's experience is
Yes,
different.
your mileage may vary
Your
indeed.
your mileage may indeed vary, yes, and it's varying quite a bit apparently. So far, so good on my end. But the good thing about being with an MVNO, which is typically a month-to-month payment plan,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
you
it's versatile. You're
cancel
not
and move
locked in.
anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah, no
perfect.
contracts.
Yeah,
I always
yeah,
buy
it's
my
really handy.
phones unlocked from Apple Direct anyway.
Same here. I buy them outright. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very good. I think anyway. They last me quite a while. So when you add up, if I did the monthly type plans that we have here as well, and I add that up over the lifetime of the phone, it works out roughly that I'm paying a bit less buying the phone outright,
Mm-hmm.
even though the first payment is quite horrific because you're laying out the money up front rather than in
Yes.
bits and bobs. But it does work out. I mean, yeah, yeah. When you add it all up, I think it works out. Well, I've done the maths actually for myself at least, and it works out cheaper for me to buy the phone outright. And if it lasts around three to 5 years, and I get an extremely low cost monthly SIM only deal. So when you add it all together, I'm spending less, quite a lot less um, as an equivalent monthly spend than I would if I did the whole phone plan type idea and paid for the phone itself monthly as well.
And you never have to deal with being locked to a carrier, which is
That's right. Yeah.
what they love to do here. Yeah.
And if anything horribly bad happens and I become spectacularly broke, then I've still got the phone already there, all paid for, and I don't have any worries with carrying on being able to use my phone if the worst happens. So that's my other logic to it as well.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you 100%. Um, let's see. I got an okay from Eric, but not a confirmation that he's joining.
He might pop up at any moment. Who knows?
He may pop up at any moment, so we'll vamp for a couple seconds here and see. Um, and I got in reply from Brian, we'll chat. So that sounds like an interesting
Yes.
conversation coming up. Yeah,
Oh no. Yes, it's
we'll
one
have
of
to talk
those
about that one.
conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, or another good news. I mean, I've had quite a few changes at Shay Darren, or Shez Darren, as they say. Um, I've successfully migrated away from my very naughty router that was causing me quite a lot of grief. So that's gone very well. I've managed to recreate my original SSIDs for 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz with the same passwords. And that meant that once that new router was fired up and configured, that all my devices magically discovered that and started to automatically connect without me having to reconfigure anything. So that was a huge success.
yeah, we talked about that last time, and we had a few conversations about it offline since, and sounds like you had a really nice, smooth migration to the new system.
Exactly, yes.
I have a habit of naming the SSIDs of my routers to correspond to the year I installed the router. So
Okay.
I have a base SSID and then I tack on, 20, 21, 25, whatever. However, with the recent routers that I have, that being the most recent upgrade, which is a Wi-Fi 7 model, um,
Oh, fancy.
yeah, fancy. Well, the nice thing is
Yeah,
that
fancy.
this is one of the TP-Link decos. And
Yes.
the nice thing about those is the old ones can mesh just as well with the new ones as the new ones can mesh with the old ones. So
Oh, that's
I,
nice. That's
I,
nice.
yeah, I could get a 2-pack, as it were, and add it to my existing mesh network. And that's essentially what I did. I did get a 3-pack. Let's see, I got a 3-pack, and I've only installed 2 so far. The primary reason being the outlet I need to get to replace the third one is back behind a wall unit, and I just haven't wanted to deal with it yet.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so that's why that third one hasn't been replaced yet. But the third one, being an older model of the same line, it is a Deco, it works fine. Although I can see where the coverage would be better if I could replace it. But still, it works fine. And then once I get around to replacing it, digging around behind that wall unit and plugging it in and whatnot, then
Yeah.
I can use it as a simple satellite in some place that's just dark, in the house, in one of those dark zones where you just can't get Wi-Fi normally. I could plug it in and have a little, albeit slower, but still have a connection to the network from wherever. So
Right. Yeah.
now the nice thing about these is that you can replace one at a time your routers in the house. So when you replace it, you just indicate that you're replacing one, and it transfers the settings from one to the other. And that worked very smoothly
Oh,
for
that's
the
quite.
main one.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So even though I initially installed this network in 2020, and it's got a 20 at the end of the name, it's now all new in 2026, and I just haven't updated that. And hey, there is Mr. Eric. Awesome.
Wow.
Sorry.
Perfect. The vamping
Can you
works.
hear me?
The vamping worked. Boom.
Oh, wait. You can't see me, though.
Well, I can
Yes.
see you.
Why
Oh, I
not?
can anyway. Yeah.
Oh, there we
can
go.
see you. Well,
Okay,
I
good.
can. Yeah. Cool. And we can hear you, which
Good,
is
good.
better than what we were
And
having earlier on, wasn't it, Mike?
Yes.
that didn't sound good.
It does sound like are you on your Macs, Mike?
No, actually, I'm on my, let's see. Do you hear that if I'm tapping?
Yeah, I do hear that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You,
Okay.
okay, so that,
Awesome.
you know
Well,
what?
there you go.
There you go. Apparently, my microphone isn't sounding all that great.
No, I
Maybe I
wouldn't
can
worry too much
move it
about
up
it.
a little
It
bit.
sounds fine. It sounds
Just need to
fine.
buy some cushions. That's what you need. You need cushions.
Yeah.
We were just vamping. When I got your text back
Okay.
that said okay, I'm like, all right, I guess he's going to join us. We'll just vamp for a few minutes. So we're
Cool. Yeah.
So
Worked out great.
you're vamping in time.
talking
Sorry,
about
I.
routers.
Oh yeah, because Darren got a new modem router, right? For
Exactly. Yeah. I had a
yeah,
very
yeah.
unreliable router before, and I've just switched over to the new one that my supplier has kindly supplied to me. So, thanks to EE. Yeah, I've been extremely happy with it. It's been running for 2 weeks now, and I've barely touched it apart from looking up a few details, and it's been rock solid, unlike my
Oh, that's
former
great.
router. And it's also
Right.
faster. So this is also part of what's prompting this as well. So since I'm trying to sort my storage out next, that ties in a bit with the router upgrade, which means that the storage stuff I can possibly move on to next is going to be
Yeah.
okay with this new router, whereas trying to do it beforehand with my old router would have been a nightmare. So yeah, I'm extremely
Yeah.
pleased.
You're talking about the DAS that you're looking at getting the
That's it. Yeah,
when you say
yeah.
storage.
Well,
Yeah.
with my previous router, having a DAS or a NAS or anything really wouldn't have worked out very well because it was so unreliable. But now I've got a reliable
Yeah.
network connection at last. I can start to think seriously about the storage angle, which is this what we're going to chat about, I think.
That
Yeah.
is what we're going to chat about. And I'm glad
Indeed.
Eric could join us so that we have somebody smart on the panel to discuss this topic.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or how about somebody with something valuable to add to the topic? How about that?
Absolutely.
Well, let's
yes.
wait until the end for that.
Okay, before we get started, did either of you come up with either a quick tip or an essential app?
I have nothing.
I have both.
Oh, you have both. Oh, that's
I do
good.
have both,
So then you got it.
I can set one aside if you have one.
I could, I always probably have an essential app now that you say this. I can't think of something offhand. I mean, I have like a million things that I'm like, oh, I should do this as an essential app next time I'm on the show. And of course, now I can't think of anything. So,
well, I
maybe
have
by the
what
time
I
we
think
get
is a
there,
pretty
I
darn
will.
good one. I have a good one, I think.
Oh, well, that's good then. That's better than what I have.
I don't know if you will get it, Eric. Darren will get it. Darren will get it. I don't know if you will get it though.
Is it something retro? Oh well,
it's something
tie, yeah.
with a bit of a retro bent to it. Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
I already like it.
A modern retro bent.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking the
Modern
same
retro.
actually. I already like it if it's retro. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything retro is good by my, I love it.
Awesome.
Well, that's it. It's all come back in again, isn't it? All the things that were excellent back in the 80s and 90s, they're excellent again.
Yeah.
I have an iPod at the office that a client gave me. They were like, I don't know what to do with this. And it's a hard drive based iPod. I can't remember which generation it is, but it's in really good shape. I would never part with my iPod. I have one of the iPod videos and it's in pristine shape because I always had it in a case. But
Nice.
This one is in pretty good shape. They did have it in a case. It's silver. And I keep reading these articles about Gen Z buying up iPods on eBay. And I'm like, God, I should put this thing on eBay and see what I can get for it.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Well,
But
the trouble
then-
is, if you
then
do
you
sell
would
it, you'd
probably-
regret it, and then you'd have to buy it back
Yeah.
again.
Well,
Double the price.
Right.
It's just sitting there.
Well-
I don't know what to do with it. So
I gave my, I had a second gen iPod that I gave to my niece a long time ago. And she actually asked if I wanted it back a few years ago. I said, well, if you want to give it back, I'll definitely take it. And she goes, no, I'd like to keep it. So I said, okay. Now, I kind of wish I would have taken it back because it was a different one because it didn't have the click wheel. The first
this one has
gen
the
had the click wheel.
Yeah.
And then they
Right.
changed it to this touch thing.
Oh,
And then they realized,
yeah.
okay, that wasn't a good idea. And so it actually was really different because it had like 4 buttons on above the wheel.
Oh,
And-
you had
yes,
that one.
It's one of those. Yeah.
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 So I wish now I would have kept it, but
I did have an iPod Nano, which was really good. I think they're really nice because they're so small
Oh,
compared
yeah.
to the full-size iPods. And isn't it quite nice just to be able to carry around a dedicated device with every single bit of your music on there, and not having to worry about syncing anything or managing a library or doing anything of that sort. You just put every track you've ever liked in your life in one place, and you have it on a small iPod Nano. I think is one of the if I would see one hanging around somewhere, I would probably buy one. Actually, that would be really cool.
Well,
yeah.
I was looking around because I used to have my iPod packaging on display on the shelf behind me, and it's not right now. And I don't know what I did with it, but right, you probably can't see it, but right underneath the green bunny man is my EyeSight package. Remember the EyeSight?
Oh, yes.
Aluminum.
Yep.
Righto, yeah.
I think I still have one around. Yeah.
So I have the original packaging for it up there because remember when Apple packaging was gorgeous and beautiful and you wanted to display it all the time.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
Yep. And so that's what that is. That's my eyesight packaging. And somewhere in this pile of junk behind me is my iPod packaging that I used to have on display as well.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Nice.
I remember that.
I keep sitting on my headphone cord. All right, there we go.
That's not good. That's why you have to get wireless.
Yeah.
Even though yours is totally hidden, kind of wireless. Who needs it?
Who needs it? Get off my lawn, you wireless kids.
Yeah.
All right. So what I told Darren is I just kind of took his questions in the order that he presented them, and we'll just kind of go through them, including up to and including Alex's question that you sent, that I've been kind of noodling, and I didn't really have a definitive answer, and I don't think there is necessarily a definitive answer. So we'll have to kind of just work through that one.
Yeah. It's a difficult one, which is why I was asking, the experts about this as well, because it is a very tricky situation. It's not straightforward.
The expert.
Yeah. The
The
expert.
To put the finger in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So let's get started. We'll just I got a little intro to it. It took me a while to come up with a title for the episode, but I did come up with a good title. I think I think it's a good title.
Excellent.
I guess we'll see.
We'll soon find out.
I had no idea what to call it until 20 to 1, and then it just popped into my head, and I went, "Oh, there you go.
Wow.
There's the title. There you go."
That's how you get your titles.
That's how I get my titles. Yeah.
I thought maybe you sat up at night, thinking about it, but it's just, right before the show, boom.
Do you want me to tell you that sometimes I do sit up at night thinking about it? Because I do.
Yes, I do think. Yeah.
I do that, but it's not super common. All right.
Yeah. No, I've done that.
So let me just make sure of a couple things here. All right. We are recording. Good. Okay. Excellent. That's what I wanted to make sure of. We had a whole Zoom snafu. The integrated Zoom and Ecamm refused to hear my microphone. I don't know why. Ecamm was hearing it. I rebooted. I uninstalled and reinstalled the virtual mic. I could not get it to hear it. So I said, let's do interview mode. And lo and behold, it works perfect. So I don't know if it was
seems
a
to be
Zoom
working fine now.
issue or what the heck, but here we go.
I think it's probably a Zoom issue.
I'm always happy to blame it on Zoom.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go then. Let's get started.
Cool.
In 3, 2, 1. It's For Mac Eyes Only, episode number 477 for August 23rd, 2026. Daz a good question. Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Eyes Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And joining me to take a look at Naz versus Daz versus San, which we didn't talk about, is Eric Erickson. Hey Eric, how you doing?
Hey Mike. Hey Darren. Doing well.
And also joining us is Darren Davies. Howdy, Darren.
Hey there, ho there.
And remember, we do normally record For Mac Eyes Only live on YouTube the second and fourth Sunday of the month. And if you would like to come hang out, ask questions, and be part of our live studio audience, be sure to subscribe to the show at youtube.com/FMEO TV. But along those lines, the show's schedule in September is a little cattywampus. We're going to be on a fall break in early September, which means the next episode would normally be on September 27th. But due to a business trip that I'm going to be on that weekend, episode 478 will be recorded live on Friday, September 25th. So, classic recording day. Speaking of live, if you are joining us live in the chat room on YouTube, I'm going to be keeping an eye on that too. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them in there and we will address them here on the show. Well, it has been a little while since we covered a listener question on the show. And while this is a listener question as such, it just so happens to be a question from a listener who listens while we record the show. And it's from our pal, Darren Davies. And I want to get into it because the topic today is about storage. Lots of storage. And lots of storage that can be accessed by anyone. And lots of storage that can be accessed by anyone on the local network who needs access, but also maybe access it beyond the local network as well. And this is becoming an ever more important question as Apple and other manufacturers push machines with 512 gigabyte or worse, 256 gigabyte of storage in them as a starting point, which often leaves folks little choice but to either pay handsomely for cloud storage or upgrade the drive inside to something larger or get an external drive. And as all questions go, it starts out simply, but rather quickly devolves into a much more complicated topic, a topic that eventually led to a question from a listener, if you can believe it. And that means not only do we have Darren's initial question, but ultimately 3 more questions to cover as well. So let's start with the simple question and go from there. Darren, what started this whole conversation about DAS versus NAS?
Yes. It was initially because I had a pretty bad experience with a NAS early on. And after, as we said, just pre-show a little bit, now that I've sorted out my network and it's in a very nice stable state, I can now think about doing something better for long-term storage, especially archival. So what I am in the market for and need advice on. So it's very exciting, this, because usually we help listeners out with their questions, but this time I'm the one that's being helped. So excellent. So yes, the initial idea was, do I go down the route of another NAS and this time choose very carefully rather than what I did originally? But that started to seem like a little bit of a downside, and I did a few experiments as well. And I came to the conclusion that since I have a spare computer sitting in my network doing not much, I could have potentially some more versatility by having a DAS instead of a NAS. And of course, a DAS doesn't stand for Darren's attached storage. It stands for direct attached storage.
Direct attached storage, yeah.
Indeed. So a NAS is network attached storage. So directly attached to the network in a way. So yeah, I shouldn't say directly, should you? And then the DAS is directly attached, so it's attached to a computer, not the network. But then I thought, okay, this will be fine, because all I really need to start off with is shared folders on the network, which would be very easy to do via my computer, my other computer that's not doing very much. And later on, I could perhaps do a little bit of home labbing, and that could be part of another show sometime, because that can you can go down rabbit holes with home labs and so on. But initially, it was just to see if we could figure out what would be best to buy for archival redundant storage that I could share over the network with my PC that's not doing much, and then also marry that with some storage that I can plug directly into my Mac. So 2 storage options, really.
Which is interesting. Now, I do want to go back for a second because DAS is not a term that I hear very frequently. I know it's a common term, but I don't typically hear it in my circles. You know, external storage or what have you. But direct attached storage is exactly what that stands for, versus NAS. Now, I presume before we get into recommendations, and I want to get to Eric's recommendations first. You mentioned, and I think you kind of pretty clearly said why you didn't go with a NAS. But NAS is typically what you would do in a situation where you have multiple devices that need access to some shared data set. So why? I mean, I presume the other PC is on all the time. So if it's on all the time, I guess there isn't any additional power drain to running a DAS versus a NAS. But is that the primary reason for considering that, or why not a NAS?
Well, one of the reasons I was going away from the idea of a NAS is because essentially a NAS is its own built-in computer as well,
Right.
controlling the distribution of files. So that has to be maintained and so on. And if the NAS part goes down or becomes unsupported, so the problem I had last time was I bought a NAS and 2 years later it stopped being supported, and then everything went downhill from there. So if I if I base my network sharing on a computer I'm already keeping up to date and maintaining, then I don't have to maintain another operating system on a NAS, for instance, and deal with an issue whereby if something goes wrong with that operating system or the NAS itself, the enclosure, that I'm stuck. Because in theory, this is my logic anyway, which may or may not be correct, and it may have some flaws in it, which we'll definitely come up to. But my theory was that if a DAS has a well, actually, no. If the computer I've got it plugged into, the DAS plugged into, has a problem, I can unplug the DAS from the computer that's doing the sharing and plug it directly into another computer, and I'll be up and running again in minutes, rather than having to try and figure out what's wrong, buy extra drives, do restriping, and figure out whether it's an OS problem or on the NAS or whether it isn't, and whether there's a hardware issue with the enclosure, etc., etc. So it sort of cuts down the potential issues, especially, and this is another assumption of mine, that if I choose, we might pick up on explaining what on earth RAID is choosing like what I was thinking of doing, which is a RAID 1 mirror. So i.e. that you have 2 drives, they're mirrored to each other, and because that's done in hardware from a chip inside the DAS, there's hardly anything that can go wrong there. It's going to maintain the mirror, and if a drive fails, you put another one in and it'll rebuild the mirror very quickly. And it seems like a nicer solution for archival and a bit more versatile because it can be directly attached, and I can also share the contents on the network with my PC.
Okay, excellent. So I brought props. Now this works for video. This isn't going to work for audio, but I'll try to explain what I'm showing as I'm showing it to you, because I have a few different props here, because direct attached storage can mean a number of different things. So for example, this drive that I have here is just a standard external desktop hard drive. This could just as easily be connected to a PC sharing the folders on it as anything else. Then, of course, we have something like this. Now, this is old. I'm going to tell you that this is old here, but this is more similar to what you were talking about just a moment ago, which is an external drive that or a unit, an external unit with multiple drives in it. In this case, this can hold two 2.5-inch hard drives or SSDs. And the reason this isn't in service anymore is because this particular unit from a company called iStorage Pro, I love this unit, by the way, but the issue with this one is the maximum size drive it could take is 1 terabyte, which these days isn't that much. But it's an external drive that would, at the time, connect via FireWire, eSATA, or USB. And in theory, it would still serve me quite well, and it would do exactly what you said. I could put 2 drives in it, and I could mirror one drive to the other, or I could set it up in any number of RAID configurations where you extend or stripe the data across multiple drives and essentially create one big, large drive, which has risks of its own. And then another type of external storage would be a little tiny portable drive. Like this particular one that I'm holding up for the camera is this is SanDisk. Now, SanDisk is not necessarily my favorite external portable SSD company, but the one that I used to prefer, Crucial, decided that they don't want to sell to us lowly consumers anymore. So we have to find alternatives.
They've got business only now.
Yeah, so we have to look at companies like SanDisk, which is owned by Western Digital, or Seagate or Samsung or something like that, if we want to look for that. But this by itself is a 1 terabyte SSD, and that could easily be connected up to a PC and the folder shared on it as well. But now, you mentioned what I was going to get to, and that is that you're considering a RAID. And there's a number of different RAID levels, and the one that you're considering specifically is where you are mirroring one drive to the other, for mostly for redundancy. So that got us down the path of the recommendations that we would make. And I want to go to Eric first. What would you recommend in the situation that we're describing for Darren?
I guess his situation sounds a little complex of what he wants, but I actually, with you talking and with what Darren was saying, and you showing your props, I realized I have all of those props sitting on my desk right now.
Right.
I've got a NAS. I've got a NAS RAID with Synology, and I've got a DAS RAID with OWC, and then I've got a bunch of external drives sitting around too, including little SSD or NAND flash drives, and I use all of them. And I think the one thing I don't necessarily do all the time is share my external drives, for my, main computer. Right now, my main desktop computer is a MacBook Pro M3 MacBook Pro. So that gets detached and moved around. And I do have another MacBook as well. But I don't have that always plugged in and sitting at the desk, accessing to be able to share all these drives. So for me, and I kind of think for just about anyone, you do want to have a DAS. I mean, you definitely do. And in my thinking more on that is speed with direct attached storage. And if you've got RAID striping, especially if you have RAID 0. Now, I know that's living dangerously, but you've got the speed and space that, if you stick like say 4, 5 terabyte drives or whatever in there, I mean, you've got 20 terabytes, and you've also got the speed of, multiple disks. I mean, that was one of the reasons why RAID striping kind of started. Just because you could actually get more speed than you would have just with one. so you can use that for different things, which I still primarily use it for backup anyway. But then with network attached storage, and I do hear what you're saying about, kind of it's a computer unto itself, and then you have to deal with maintaining it and everything. And I guess, yeah, it's something that you're always going to have to, think about. And I don't know too much about QNAP, but like Synology, I've actually had really pretty good luck. I had one instance with my Synology several years ago, and they actually, and I think it was a software thing, it wasn't a hardware, but they worked with me, and actually it took a little bit, but they got it fixed, and it was out of warranty then. So I mean, they
Oh,
actually
that's
do a
good.
good job of really servicing their stuff, and I was really impressed with that. But the one thing that the NAS kind of brings to the table just is the sharing, obviously, but then um, Synology in that case, they have a really good interface for
Hmm.
accessing you know the RAID drives and everything in the software, and they also have a bunch of external. They have a bunch of other software, like they have Synology Drive, which is basically like a Dropbox, and I use that all the time. And there's several other things as well. But I mean, it, and I also have all my movies, all my music stored on there, that I can access from everywhere. So I've kind of got a media center too. But I mean, it really depends upon what you want it for. I don't know if I would get direct attached storage just to share it with other computers. I think I might still lean towards the network, but if that's something that you know you feel like would work better for you, I mean, I definitely, I
Well,
don't
yeah,
know if
that's
that
it.
even answers any of your questions.
Yeah, I did. I was thinking about that sort of thing. I mean, luckily, at least at the moment, I don't need any of the other very clever and nice functions that the NAS can
For the
provide.
NAS,
Um,
right?
uh, and for a NAS, yeah, and also the speed wise is quite interesting because when you look at the CPUs that are in most NASes, they're quite modest, and especially on the Synology, it's quite
Hmm.
modest. So,
Yeah.
so I did a quick test of just running some shares from my PC instead, which has a CPU setup and so on. That's about 4 times faster than any NAS. So when I did some read writes to it, it behaved a lot better than my previous NAS. Although, having said that, my previous NAS was in a bit of a state. It was pretty terrible. Um, but
Yeah.
comparing what I've got now with speed tests that I've done, I think I'd get better speed from a DAS attached to the
Oh,
PC than I would with a NAS directly.
without a doubt, and that is one reason you get a DAS, and it's a reason why I have one. Um, it's because of the speed. I mean, that was Drobo's whole thing. Kind of
Mm.
Oh
was,
yeah, that was their
direct
big
Drobo.
attached
thing. Yeah, it's a
storage.
shame they went out of business, wouldn't it? Because they were really good,
Yeah,
quite good.
yeah, it was a really interesting thing, and in Synology, kind of I don't know if they had it beforehand, but they have their Synology hybrid RAID, which is what I have set up on the. And so if one disk fails, then you can replace it without having to, essentially you just pop it out, put in
Yeah.
a new disk, and it takes care of itself. You don't have to like, oh my gosh, I've now lost everything because of one disk failing, which I've actually
Yeah.
had a couple different times. But yeah, speed wise, for sure, your DAS is always going to be faster. There's just no question about it. Even if you're using a soft RAID type thing as opposed to hardware RAID. Yeah.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions actually. Yes, I did toy with the idea of perhaps you could get an enclosure that didn't have any hardware RAID on it at all, and just rely on the host operating system to provide some a RAID storage pool, which is possible.
Yeah.
I think there's a little
Yep.
bit of an impact speed-wise, but perhaps not drastic. But
Yeah.
what I was thinking there, though, is if I was to use the DAS as a location for a VM, then in that case, the overhead might impact it a fair bit. So if it was doing a hardware RAID, there'd be no impact at all, because the machine would be not only hosting the VM, but it would also be reading and writing back to the storage at the same time. So that would probably be a bit more of an impact than you would want to have. But there was the one other reason for potentially going for a mirrored pair instead of sort of like a hybrid RAID situation, is that when you do a mirrored pair, the format of the disk can stay in that format. So if one of the drives failed and the enclosure failed as well, for instance, you could then take the other drive out and plug it into a computer and you could read the files directly. Whereas when it's in a hybrid RAID setup, those disks are only readable by the device that created that hybrid RAID.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
So again, it's versatility, isn't it? It's just like potentially a DAS would be more versatile because you could plug it in several ways, whereas with a NAS you would have to do it one way. It's my way or the highway with the NAS situation.
Right. I think they both have their advantages, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just depends upon pros and cons. Yeah.
Yeah, what you want, and again, like I said, I've got two, and I've also had other. I used to have a Promise. I don't know if you've heard of Promise technology, but they.
Oh yes, yeah, they were good with storage. Yeah.
Yeah, and they still make really high-end, fast, expensive RAID boxes, and it's always been good. I did with my OWC. I always do use the Blackmagic speed test, the disk speed.
Sure.
And I know I did it with my RAID, and I don't remember what it was now. I'll have to find it. But I mean, I've got them all together. Like with my NAS, I don't even bother doing it because it's not going to be. NAS is really for sharing a whole bunch of stuff and secondary storage. I mean, it's really not a primary storage thing. It's just not. Yeah. And of
course, I'm thinking of using this for archival, so the speed doesn't really necessarily matter a whole deal. Yeah. So like you say, a NAS would be fine speed wise, and a DAS would also be fine. But then I could run a VM off the DAS. But
right.
If you wanted to, exactly.
And that's what I wanted to bring up too, Darren, is that once you introduce the topic of potentially running a VM off the DAS, don't forget that your Synology can also host virtual machines directly.
That's true. That's true. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
That is one big advantage of the NAS. If you're talking about virtual machines, then you're taking the load of that virtual machine off your host PC and putting it onto the NAS. The other thing I wanted to mention about the NAS, not to bounce around too much here, but in terms of speed, Synology specifically offers caching drives on it, and specifically SSD caching drives. So in addition to the 2 or 4 or more physical spinning hard drives that you have within your Synology network attached storage unit, you're also going to install 1 or potentially 2 SSDs to handle the caching to greatly speed up the access of those files. So, and it does a good job. It does a really good job at that. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, Eric did mention the Synology Drive app that you run on the unit, and essentially turns it into Dropbox or iCloud or iCloud Drive or OneDrive or whatever you want to think of. That is what it turns into. And one of the huge advantages of the Synology Drive is that it integrates with the Finder. So very much like Dropbox, very much like OneDrive, very much like iCloud, it integrates directly with the Finder, and you can literally access it from anywhere, and it works amazingly well. And that is one thing that the upstarts like Ugreen, Ugreen looks to make a really fantastic NAS, but they fall down hard when it comes to something like matching what Synology Drive offers. They don't include or offer an
on the
equivalent to
software
it.
side.
Yeah, if
right.
you want to access your files, oh, well, run our app. Well, what about Finder integration? Oh, well, if you want to do Finder integration, then you got to do this and this and this other thing, and you got to have this third-party software installed in it, blah blah blah. And put a Docker, server.
Yeah.
No, just let me do what I can do with this Synology and
Right.
access it directly. And I came this close to buying a Ugreen when they were discounted and as they first introduced them. And the lack of an equivalent to Synology Drive is what stopped me, because that is one of the huge advantages of it that I want. Look, I'm sorry, Dropbox, but I want to get rid of you. I want to get rid of you.
Yeah.
I want to get rid of iCloud Drive. I want to get rid of OneDrive. I want to get rid of all these and replace it with my own self-hosted cloud storage that I'm not paying $130 a year for. So that's...
And it's private.
Yeah, and it's private. That would be one of the big advantages of going with the NAS. And you can replicate that in theory with your standalone PC and a DAS attached to it and shared folders and all. You could replicate that, but just not as seamlessly or as nicely as you can with something like Synology Drive.
I mean, I think if I was thinking more than just on my own home network and access to it from elsewhere, then that would change the whole question really, or the whole dynamic of potentially the answer too. So I mean, so as a slight side note there, so with Synology Drive in particular, can you access that anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you
So
can.
accessing your own files anywhere in the world as a storage, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Now there is a go-between.
That's an interesting option. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something that is important to note. I guess it's no different than Dropbox in that respect, in that there is a go-between. In other words, in order for your Synology NAS to be visible anywhere in the world, it is making a secure encrypted connection to Synology servers, and then you on the other end
in order to find it. So so I'm assuming that that just makes the device easy to find and recognized as your device wherever you happen to be, so that you don't have to go through the complexities of opening ports and pointing things to things and giving addresses permission to do this, that, and the other, and spend a week trying to figure out how to set it up.
No opening your home network to the big bad internet. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Or using one of the dynamic DNS services, which again, you're using a go-between to establish that connection back to your home network. But in this, heck, if you want to take it to the next level, in addition to Synology Drive, you have their Photos app, so you can essentially replicate iCloud Photos on the Synology Drive.
Interesting idea.
Not iCloud Photos. You can replicate Google Photos. I should say that. It's more akin to Google Photos than it is to iCloud Photos, because it doesn't integrate with Photos, right? But you can do that. You can host your own mail server on it. You can host your own.
At least as a photo backup would be quite handy if you wanted to archive thousands upon thousands of images. That could be quite handy as a photo archive, not necessarily one you access day to day, but something that you can delve into when you need to go back right to the year dot when you were taking images, and you've got so many images you don't know what to do with almost. That could be quite handy.
And in that regard, it works very much like Google Photos or Amazon Photos or any of these that or Dropbox Photos that I personally use as a backup to my iCloud Photos. So but now you're not storing it on Dropbox or Amazon or whomever. You're storing it on your own private internal NAS. So there are some advantages to it,
So,
but the simplicity of going with DAS is huge.
Yeah, cool. So as a follow-up question, this would be, I'm sure this would be highly unlikely to happen because Synology are well established. They've been going for like 20, 30 years now, probably. And bad things are unlikely to happen, although we have seen companies hosting
We've seen
services
bad decisions. Yeah.
disappear. Yeah, there's that as well. There's
Yeah.
some bad decisions that have gone on, but that's slightly unrelated to what my concern would be. If I was reliant on Synology Drive, for instance, and Synology just suddenly decided to either go out of business, well, not that they would decide to go out of business, or that they would disappear, or they would stop the server services that make that work, then you'd no longer have access to your data in the country where the NAS would be situated. You wouldn't be able to access it anymore because it would rely on Synology Drive servers to connect you to that NAS. And if something went wrong with that arrangement there, their servers or Synology themselves, or they decided to pull the plug on a service, then that's it. You're screwed. You can't access it.
You would still be able to connect to it. You would still be able to connect to it, though, through your own home network. I mean,
once you're at home, yes.
Remotely.
But if you're in another country, right. I'm just thinking further down. Right. Not that I'm thinking of moving to another country, but if I was, and I was relying on iCloud Drive, Synology Drive to access it from a different country, then I'd be completely reliant on Synology continuing that service, that server service to join the things together.
Right, and I think that's kind of the case with everything. I mean, it's if Synology went out of business, your box would still keep working. Some of the extra services, wouldn't be there, but it's I guess at some point, you got to make a decision. There's something bad can always happen. That's for sure. I don't know that I would not get a network attached storage or something like Synology because that might happen.
Right.
It would be more or less just
highly
isn't
unlikely.
Going to work for me.
Yeah.
I think
right.
I would feel better getting a Synology than, let's say, a Ugreen in that regard.
Right.
At least at this point, let's give it a few more years. But at this point, I think I would feel better getting a Synology. Now, the other thing, and this would be, as Brian said in the chat before we started recording, a story for another day. But the other thing is there are several open source developers who are creating alternate operating systems for Synology NASs.
Yes.
And in the event that you are no longer happy with their operating system, or or they go out of business, or they shut everything down, or whatever, I'm fairly confident that with a Synology you would find an alternative. Now, the good news in what happened the last couple of years, remember, what was it, 2 years ago, Eric, where Synology said, guess what? You got to start using our drives in the new units. You can't.
Right.
You no longer can put in a Seagate or a Western Digital. Never mind that our drives are just rebranded Seagates and Western Digitals. Never mind that. But you can no longer put in a third-party drive. You have to put in one of ours. And they're still kind of doing that with the SSDs, but
right.
They got blowback, and as a result of that blowback, they backtracked and said, yeah, okay, you can do it again. You can do it again. We're gonna update the firmware, and you're gonna be able to put in third-party drives again. So now that doesn't mean that they're not going to try to do this again at some point.
Right.
But I do feel as if it shows they listen to their customers and react to what their customers are saying. And
well, yes, they pretty much had to, though, didn't they? Because people stopped buying their stuff.
Well, there's that.
Yeah. Well, and I think I think they went that route because if you look at their drive compatibility page, it's gigantic.
Yeah.
And I think they just said I'm sure some
Oh,
exec in some
yeah.
C-suite said, why are we paying to test all these drives?
Right.
And, and it just said, no, we'll just make them take these drives. These are the four that whatever. And rather than, and then of course, rightfully people said, what the heck, and so
Yeah.
they backed off on that. So, which was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they've fully backed off, but they have backed off because
So,
it's only a few, there's just a few functions of DSM, which is their software,
yeah,
which won't work on a non-branded drive. So it's not fully open back the way it used to be, where you could use any drive and you could use any service. Now they've let you use any drive for most things, but there are a few services reserved that only for their own branded drives, which is a little bit sneaky. The only trouble is I don't exactly know. I suppose I need to do some research to figure out precisely which one of those services I'd be missing out on. And the only reason I ask that is if I did go down the route of getting a NAS instead of a DAS, that I do have with the price of drives as they are at the moment, sky high.
Yeah.
I do already have. I've already got one nice drive that I can use in that pair, which of course isn't anything to do with a recognized Synology drive. So it would be a third-party one. So I'm hoping to reuse some of the stuff that I've already got, which is one of the other reasons why I wasn't entirely keen on going with someone that was. At one stage, admittedly, they're not doing that anymore fully, but at one stage they were, as you say,
right.
pretty much forcing people to use their own stuff, and if you had anything else, bad luck.
Well, I think you'd probably have to look at it and see if that's going to affect you or not. That would be the way to do it.
It may not, because my if I did go down the NAS route, my needs are pretty modest, I think. So yeah, it might still be an option actually. Yeah, I'll have to think that through.
Not that Eric and I are trying to push you towards this Synology NAS here,
So do you
Darren.
have? I was going to say, do you get commission for this?
Because we're going to, yeah, I didn't want to mention the cell company earlier, but I'll mention Synology because I do like their products. I think they're very easy to set up. And
Yeah.
One thing I was going to mention, because you're talking about having a stack of drives that you can reuse in it, which I think is great. They do have a drive configurator on their website. So you can plug in the size of drives that you have, and it can tell you the type of storage space you're going to get if you use that particular combination of drives and you use their hybrid RAID. Or you can tell it, oh, I want to use RAID 1 or I want to use RAID 5 or whatever configuration you want to use, you can tell it, and then the drives that you have, and it'll say, here's what you will get, basically. So I do like the fact that you don't have to have matching drives. That was always a thing way back in the day. You had to have 4 drives or 5 drives that all were exactly the same brand, exactly the same size. And if you had anything different, good luck to you, because it wouldn't work. Well, Drobo kind of changed that, because Drobo popularized the idea that you could just slam any 4, 5, 6 drives into it, and it would happily accept them and make them part of this, redundant array of drives in there. And that's what their hybrid RAID does, is it kind of takes pretty much anything you give it and allows you to set up this hybrid redundant RAID so that if any one of them fails, you can replace it and keep going. So that's nice.
So that's something I was toying with as well. As I think I said earlier, that I was possibly toying with the idea of doing a software RAID instead, because then you could do what, as you said, have different mismatched sizes of drives, and you could do something like add them to a storage pool and choose like a parity format, which then effectively does the same thing as a hybrid RAID, except that you'd not have any indicators on the drive itself to say something is wrong. You'd have to go and look in your
Right.
storage pool on the computer that was hosting it to say, and it would say, oh, this drive as part of your pool has an issue. So it would tell you, but it would only tell you in software, not hardware. So there's swings and roundabouts, you know. So
The,
some part of doing software RAID is a good idea in some ways, but then it's a
the
bad
drive,
idea in others. And
I was going to say the drive sizes depend upon the RAID you're using, though, right? I mean, I don't think you can use different sizes in certain kinds of RAID, like
Correct.
RAID 1. I think you have to, or even RAID 0. I think you pretty much have to stay.
yeah. No, I'm talking about a software pool where you can choose drives of different sizes and choose a parity stripe across them. So that it's a software managed system rather than anything to do with a
So
particular RAID number. So it's not like RAID 1 or RAID 5 or RAID 10. It's like
I
no
think
RAID
that's
at
still
all, but it's
the
all
same.
handled in software.
Oh, so it's sort of like a JBOD, because I with my
Sort of.
OWC, it's a 4 drive enclosure, but it works off soft RAID. But it's still, so it
Right.
is software. It's a software RAID, but it still has all the different RAID configurations. You know, 0, 1, I think 5, 6, whatever else, and you know, it depends upon. It's still JBOD, I think, is another one. It's still, even if you get a hardware one, I think it still depends upon the RAID that you're using. You know, but I mean, I guess you'd have to see. You know, I mean, I don't think you can, you know, run a software RAID configuration and then have different sizes of drives and then expect, oh, I'm going to get the same kind of performance I would get out of RAID 0, or I'm going to have the same
Yeah,
kind of backup
that's
performance
the thing.
I will out of RAID
That's
1.
the thing you
Yeah,
definitely wouldn't get. You wouldn't get the same performance. Yeah.
right.
Okay, so two things I think we should talk about at this point, and maybe we should have talked about this before we had the conversation we just had. But one, I want to talk about a couple different RAID levels, not all of them. There's a great number of RAID levels, and
Yeah, there's loads.
I will link to a couple Wikipedia articles that cover them in depth if you are interested in going in depth in the different RAID levels. But specifically, we mentioned RAID 0, we
Yeah.
mentioned RAID 1, I think we
Yeah.
should mention RAID 5, and then
Yeah.
we should mention JBOD, because JBOD is
Yeah.
very unique. JBOD actually stands for just a bunch of disks. That's really what it stands for, just a bunch of disks.
Exactly.
Because if you have an enclosure with, let's say, two drive slots in it, and you set it up as a JBOD, they look to the Mac like two different distinct drives. And if you
Yep.
have 4 drive slots and 4 drives in it as JBOD, it's 4 unique, distinctive drives. And then
Yep.
you could, if you want to, set up various RAID levels on those drives. And RAID 0 is the one that we've all three of us cautioned against using. That is where the data is essentially spread across the number of drives that you have within the enclosure. So let's say you have a 2-drive enclosure, and the technical term is striping. So it takes the
Yeah.
data and it spreads it across the 2 drives. And the reason we caution against it without any serious backup method in place is that if either of those drives fails, you lose all of your
You
data,
use everything.
which is not cool, because you are essentially taking 2 drives and turning them into one big drive. So,
Yes.
think of it as a 2-platter drive. It's not really, but think
Right.
of it as a 2-platter drive. One of those
Kind of
platters fails, you're going to lose everything, right? So
Yeah.
RAID
Yeah.
0, not generally recommended unless you have some sort of serious backup strategy in place. But an advantage of RAID 0 is it's fast. So
That's it. Yeah, it's good for speed,
good for speed.
but
All
rubbish
right.
for archival.
Right. And then RAID 1 is mirroring. That's where you have 2 drives, and in a 2-drive enclosure, you have 2 drives, and one drive mirrors the contents of itself to the other drive. So as you're writing, you're really writing to the primary drive of that pair,
writing
and
twice.
and then it mirrors, right? The unit or the software, if you're doing a soft RAID, mirrors the data from one to the other, so that either of those drives could fail. Not both. Both can't fail, but either of those drives could fail,
Yes.
and you could replace it and keep going. You wouldn't lose all your data because, and it sounds really
Yeah.
good. It sounds really good on the surface, but again, you can't lose both drives. That would be bad.
And you literally have half the space that you
That you're
would
paying
have.
for.
So
That's
if
right.
you're going to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
20 terabytes, it'll just be 10. And yeah.
Yeah. Now, RAID 5 is another very common one, and I'm thinking more consumer level. I mean, there's other RAID levels. There's, there is 2 and 3 and 4 and 6, and I think there's a RAID like 20 or something. There's
a
like all
7
these,
and a 10. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it's quite a few.
3 billion. There's all these different RAID levels, and RAID 5 is another very common one because you can do it with as little as 3 drives, and that is where you are effectively striping your data across all the drives, but one of the drives is being used for redundancy or parity, so that in the event that any one of the drives fails, you're not losing everything because you have this redundancy built in. That's what the third drive is used for. So like with RAID 1, where you're mirroring, you are not getting 100% of the storage you're paying for, but you're getting the redundancy, and some pretty decent speed. So RAID 5 is typically used in a 4 drive or more situation where
Yeah.
you're going to get a decent amount of storage, and then you also have the redundancy so that any one of those 4 or 5 drives can fail. You replace that drive and go. Now, I do not believe 2 of the drives can fail. If 2 of the drives fail,
No.
then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I know one of the RAID levels does allow that.
6, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think you need a minimum of 5 drives for that, for 2 of them to possibly fail. I think, but I can't remember exactly which RAID level that is, whether it's 6 or 7 or something like that.
I think it's 6, and I think 5 and 6 are pretty close to like Synology's SHR, Synology Hybrid RAID 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think, and I don't know if this is true with RAID 5, but I know with Drobo and Synology, you had the ability to lose one drive, but it wasn't like somehow you weren't using up all, you didn't have to like use up all the space of that one drive. It was weird. It was like, I know it's kind of hard to explain, but it was like instead of like using a whole drive's worth of space, you would like only lose like 70% of it or whatever. It's sort of,
So it's almost like there's a portion of each drive is portioned off for sort of like a cache parity type situation where it can still rebuild, but it's not using a whole contents of one drive to do a rebuild. Yeah, I think that's what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where the Synology hybrid RAID situation comes in quite handy, and other NASes that do a hybrid RAID as well. Yeah.
So
that's the way Drobo worked too when it was
So the big question I suppose is do I go with a NAS or a DAS?
Well, the next my next question, now that we talked about different RAID levels, the next question is, do you get 2 drive unit or 4 drive unit? Because here's another idea. You get a 4 drive unit, you put 2 drives in bay 1 and 2, and you mirror them with a RAID 1. You put 2 drives in 3 and 4, and you mirror them with RAID 1, and then you mirror 1 and 2, that first RAID, to the second RAID. Now,
I see.
There's some extra redundancy for you, but you're only getting 1/4 of what you're paying for storage-wise. So if you have data that you really truly can't lose, that still might not be the best solution, because now you're dependent upon one unit
Right,
holding all those
right.
drives. But as Darren pointed out earlier, you
Yeah.
can take those drives and pull them out and put them into a replacement unit, even of a different brand, and still be able to read the data. So,
Yeah,
Right,
that's what I
right,
mean.
right.
When I was thinking of this of mirroring probably being the best for me, versatility wise, it does mean you can take a drive out and read it somewhere else, because it's not using a proprietary like
yeah,
RAID array
Yeah,
type situation or a striping situation so it's a standardized format then in that point at that point. So they're just being um, very easily mirrored, like whatever's, as you said, whatever's written to the first drive, it's also written to the second one, but using uh, the same format for each drive, so they're individually able
right.
to be read by something else you plug it into if there is something that went horribly wrong. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's
good.
true.
Uh, so I was thinking of a two bay. I mean, I've been quite lucky in the past where I've never had two drives fail at the same time, and I've probably been a little canny, and it's probably a good thing to advise perhaps as well for people buying drives, is that not to buy a batch all at the same time from the same place and so on.
Good point.
So if there's a bad batch and you buy several drives from that bad batch, they can all potentially fail at the same time.
Yeah.
So what I tend to do is I spread out my purchases of drives at different times, even if I buy the same model, um, to make sure they're not in the same batch. So if there is a batch issue, a manufacturing issue, then they at least won't go um, um, they won't go
Pause
horribly
up.
wrong at the same time.
Yeah.
So at least, yeah, exactly. They won't go pulls up. Yeah, that's it. At
Yeah.
least not at the same time.
And don't get refurbished drives from
Oh
Amazon.
gosh, no.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Never buy a drive secondhand.
That's the
That's
other
another
thing.
one of my things
Yeah.
that I never would recommend people do. Don't buy just secondhand hard disks,
Yeah.
especially not
No.
spinning hard disks. No. Don't
Yeah.
do
No.
that.
Yeah. I've already had issues with that. So,
Yeah.
And of course, because I'm also thinking of fast day-to-day storage directly attached to my Mac, then the only task my DAS or NAS would have to do would be archival storage. So it wouldn't necessarily have to be fast. So it would have to be reliable and good for archive. But my day-to-day stuff, I could work on a separate disk that I would have attached to my Mac itself as a fast day-to-day working disk. So I'd be having a combination between the two, really. So when I've dealt with a project or something that I'm working on locally with my fast drive directly attached to the Mac, once I've finished with it and I want to archive it, I can just copy that across the network to the NAS or the DAS and have it archived over there. So I wouldn't necessarily be accessing it directly from that storage, but I'd just be using it to put a copy of stuff that I've finished and dealt with that I want to keep. So archival, really.
Yeah. There's one more thing I feel obligated to mention here. Oh, well, one, we
We've
lost
lost
Eric.
Eric. Uh-oh.
Yep. He
It's all
heard
got
me
too
say
much for him.
obligated to mention and he took off.
Oh,
So let's talk about this while Eric rejoins us.
cool.
Let's go back to that mythical elephant in the room. The one who comes
Oh.
in. What do we call it?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Elephantzilla or
The elephant of doom. Yes, that's it. The elephant of doom coming
okay,
in and
we'll go with
sitting on
elephant
your
of doom.
Yeah.
Elephant of doom comes in the room and smashes and destroys your enclosure, whatever that enclosure is. Is it a DAS? Is it a
Yes.
NAS? Whatever that enclosure is with your wonderfully curated and carefully mirrored drives or hybrid RAID drives, whatever it is, smashes that unit and therefore smashes the drives inside. I think we should also mention that regardless of the setup you have,
Yeah.
you would probably want to consider some other alternative backup method.
Yes, yeah,
Some
at least
other
another
way,
drive of equal size for another backup, or potentially a backup service. So the
yes,
other thing that could be useful is something like Backblaze, whereby
yeah,
you can tell that to back up everything you have to their cloud, so you can restore it to any location at that point. Although that's another benefit of going down the DAS route, because um, if you did have a Backblaze account, you wouldn't be able to back up a NAS. It disregards your NAS, so it will only back up
well,
directly attached disks. So Backblaze will work quite happily with your DAS, but it won't back up your NAS, and well, unless you do something interesting.
okay, well that is actually a little bit the opposite of what I was going to say, because the advantage of the NAS is that many of these backup services offer apps that run directly on the NAS. So depending on the backup service you want to use, you may want to look into it and see if Backblaze offers an app for the NAS that you can run directly and just back up to the cloud
That's a
from
good
the
point.
NAS. But that does depend on your service. You're very, very correct in that regard that many of them don't, they know how large NASs are. They know how much
Yeah,
storage that would require.
I
And
I wouldn't
uh,
like to back up most people's NASs because they'd be absolutely huge.
that's right. That's right. So they're, never mind that you can get a 32 terabyte external hard drive and they'll happily back that up. But no, no, we can't possibly back up your 12 terabyte NAS. But yes, many of the services will not back up a NAS, but equally so, many services will also offer apps that can run directly on the NAS and therefore still
Yeah,
allow you to back up.
yeah.
And I know that many of the larger commercial services do that. So there may still be some additional annual fees involved, but
Mm.
that might end up being cheaper than buying an external drive that you then also need to manage and make sure is back, getting the
Well,
backups
that's it.
done and all that kind
That,
of
that's
stuff.
that's the problem with juggling and maintaining external disks. You have to, especially if you're in two locations. And I'm happy and fine here, just on my home network. That's no worries. But if you were moving around the world a bit, that would complicate matters quite drastically. Yeah.
Yeah. And we will, in fact, talk about that in just a little bit, I think, right? I think that was one of the
Yeah.
questions we
Yeah.
had from Alex. Um, so, all right, recommendations. Let's talk about recommendations because we're about an hour into this, and I think
Cool.
we should talk about some of those things because I would like to talk about Alex and Sharon, right? I'd like to talk
Yeah.
about their situation and see if we can come up with an answer for them as well. But
Cool.
the one recommendation I had, because I've had a lot of luck with this and I've used it before, and I believe this is the unit that Eric owns as well, is from OWC, which is at
Yeah.
macsales.com, Other World Computing, and that is their Gemini, which is an external Thunderbolt 2-drive enclosure. And you can pick it up as any of their enclosures you can pick up as what they call a DIY enclosure, where you are adding your own drives to it. You can certainly buy them with drives, but you can also pick it up as a DIY, so it's empty, and you just stick whatever drives you happen to have into it, and either set it up as, like you said, a RAID 0, where everything's striped across
Yeah.
the two drives, or a RAID 1 where you are mirroring the contents. Now, that is a
Yeah.
Thunderbolt drive. And that's important because if your PC that you want to connect it to doesn't offer Thunderbolt, and we're going to assume that that's a Mac and not a PC, but I know it's a PC. But does your PC offer Thunderbolt? Is that something that you can add to it?
um,
Would something like a Gemini work for you?
I think the Gemini would work very well because it supports USB 3.2 Gen 2, which I believe is 10 megabits per second. Although I believe for spinning disks that wouldn't matter too much because the combined speed of a couple of striped disks or um, a mirrored set would be well under 5 gigabits per second. So even if I wasn't able to connect at 10 gigabits, that wouldn't be a deal breaker. So yeah, my PC doesn't have any fancy lovely Mac type Thunderbolt abilities, but it does support USB 3.2 Gen 2, which is the higher spec of USB 3. And it does have some ports that support 10 gigabits as well, which the OWC does also support. So I think I wouldn't be able to plug it in with the Thunderbolt cable, but I would be able to plug it into USB-A or USB-C onto the PC and get quite good speed. It's not quite as good as Thunderbolt would be, but certainly good enough, especially for the throughput of the drive, because it's going to be hosting spinning disks.
I would make sure of that before you buy it and count on it working over USB, only because I believe the USB ports on it are for additional peripherals. In other words, if you wanted to plug actually, Eric is with us again, so we can
Sorry.
ask Eric, because I believe he has one of these. We were just talking about the
perfect.
OWC Gemini external enclosure, and Darren was saying it probably shouldn't be a problem connecting to his PC because it has the USB ports in the back, but I believe those USB ports are only for additional peripherals that you might want to plug in, not for connecting to your device for data transfer.
Oh, yeah. I thought that Gemini looked really, really cool. But there's got to be a connection for your computer, though.
The Thunderbolt.
Yeah,
it's Thunderbolt.
Thunderbolt. Right. Yeah. So yeah, it acts as like a partial dock.
Yes.
So yeah, Thunderbolt would be your connection, and the USB ports are just add on other stuff. So it kind of acts as a dock. That's probably why. Wasn't there an RJ45 connector on there too?
Yeah, there's an RJ45.
Yeah, there's
a
network
display
as well,
port.
so there's that option too. Yeah, there's quite a few options.
But I think that's there.
I should be able to use the USB.
I
should be able to use the USB-C Thunderbolt connector on the back of that to a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 connector, because it should be downwardly compatible as well. But yeah, like you say, the top two ports are only for peripherals. Yeah. I think I looked at that.
Wouldn't you want to use Thunderbolt though? I mean, use it on the Thunderbolt on your Mac, because then you get the best speed.
Well, that's it. I mean, I could, because that's one of the advantages of the DAS. In theory, I can plug it in from Thunderbolt to USB C or A 3.2 Gen 2 on the PC, but also use a different cable to plug it in from Thunderbolt to Thunderbolt on my Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is what you want to do, because you want to get that total speed. And besides that, Thunderbolt's great because it not only is fast, but it's also bidirectional. USB is just unidirectional, and it's also USB uses your computer's microprocessor to do the work, where Thunderbolt has a chipset built into the cables itself and the ports, and which is why the cables are expensive. But that is if you really are looking at DAS for a speed thing, and or you want to use those other ports for peripherals, kind of use it as a dock, you definitely would want to go the route of Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I think that's a separate thing in a way, because this is just for archival, and I was thinking of having a separate drive for my Mac to do day-to-day stuff, and that would be natively Thunderbolt. Yes.
Okay. So you could go with the NAS then.
Yeah, could do.
Yeah.
If I could get over my distaste of NASs, but that's only because I had a bad experience once with one. So that doesn't necessarily mean I will have future bad experiences with a NAS. And I think Synology, although their processor and so on isn't quite as swanky as some of the others. Like you say, Mike, their software is much more advanced. And also, I believe they are better for support, that they support their software for a longer amount of time for when you do buy an enclosure. So you're not like out in the cold. So that was one of my big bugbears with my last NAS. I bought it 2 years before it started to be unsupported. So I got hardly any use out of it at all, which which is what annoyed me in the first place. But yeah, you're right. I mean, potentially a NAS for my archival side would still be the preferred option rather than a DAS plugged into a PC and sharing stuff from there. But yeah, it's just another option I was thinking of, because a DAS would be quite interesting and versatile. But yeah, not necessarily the best choice. I don't know.
Or you go Eric's route and get both.
Get both, exactly.
Both. Of course.
And I was going to say, versatility is kind of, to the, like beauty is the eyes of the beholder. Because I can use my NAS as my media center to connect to from Apple TV, or, really from a smart TV, and use apps, whether it's MB or Plex or whatever, Infuse, to connect to actually I've got an MB server and I've also got a Plex server on it. But I mean, so it really, depends upon it. I think if you're going to use it for archival and you can also use it to share data with other Macs in your house, I almost would lean towards an NAS, unless you really have a thing for speed. And it obviously doesn't have to be Synology, but I mean, I would definitely give that another look.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good advice. I will look at that again, because I can reevaluate the NAS versus DAS situation.
Yeah. So we were just when you were away there for a second, Eric, we were talking about recommendations. We're moving on to those, and we were talking about that OWC Gemini. And I should probably also point out that, and I wasn't aware of this until we started having this conversation last week, Darren, there's also a Gemini Ultra, which doesn't use spinning hard drives, it uses SSDs. So, there's that kind of option.
But now you're talking a bit of moolah there.
A little bit of moolah for all that, yeah. Now, Eric, which model Synology do you have?
I have the 1019 Plus, so
okay,
it's a little bit older. I've just got spinning hard drives, although you can stick SSDs in there. And then I have the two NAND chips at the bottom. It's like they're 400, so it's almost like a terabyte of caching.
Yeah,
with the NAND. So, but
is that standard RAM, Eric, or is that NVMe disks?
It's NVMe. Sorry. Yep.
NVMe is cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Righto.
So
interesting.
One thing you were talking about the processor, Darren, and I just pulled up a comparison of some of the models that, someone of our level of usage would probably look at when it comes to Synology units. And one thing I wanted to point out, and I brought them up specifically so I don't get this information wrong, but as you go up through their numbering scheme, the specs increase substantially, So while the lower end 225 plus and the 425 plus have Intel Celerons in them, the 725 plus and the 925 plus have AMD Ryzen processors in them. So a little bit more powerful processor. And then you also go up in memory as well. So the 725 and 925 come with 4 gigabytes of DDR4 memory. The 225 and 425 only have 2 gigabytes of memory, and you can't add on to that. Whereas with the other models, the 725 and 925, you can
the other
stick
models
another...
have the socketed RAM.
You get plus. You know how their numbering scheme works, right?
Kind of, Mike? Yeah. I think one of the numbers is their year, isn't it? Which is
Yeah, so 25 is the year, 7 is the number of discs you can stick in there total.
Okay,
And then they all have
got
like
it.
a plus, which you can add more, like another, like mine's 1019 plus, which is 2019. It can hold 10 drives. It holds 5 by itself, but you can plug in a
The
separate.
external chassis.
Yeah, there's something else that holds. It can hold another 5 drives or whatever. But yeah,
Cool. Are you thinking of upgrading anytime, Eric? Because if your 10 bay was built in 2019, then how much longer
yeah.
support do you think it has, especially
I
on the software side?
That I don't know. They keep issuing updates, and I've only got the 5. So I mean, I could put up to 10 in there, but I only have 5. But um, I pretty much will probably keep using it into the ground. I mean, till it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, sure.
I did that with my previous Synology, where actually I was trying to think. That was probably about 7, 8 years old or older
Yeah,
when I couldn't. I had updated it to DSM 6, and it really slowed things down. And
Mm.
so then
right.
that was when I started thinking, okay, I got to get something different probably, and got the 1019. And so far, I mean, that's it's they're still issuing updates from DSM 7 on, and
Yeah.
it's
So I
working. It's
presume
working fine.
when the last version of the update comes out for support for it, that it can still carry on working happily at that level, and it doesn't matter so much that you're not getting new software updates on it. You can still use the device for, as you say, as long as it physically lasts.
Right, right. Yep. Yeah. And sometimes they'll still update the other applications in there if you don't need the latest and greatest version of DSM to run it.
Okay,
So like
yeah.
Synology
That's,
Drive could get an update even though, whatever.
even though the host OS doesn't. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Right.
Cool. So it might still be in the market myself for NAS,
Yeah. For a
perhaps.
NAS,
I'll have to
for some
rethink
kind of
this.
NAS.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And I would,
it's not an easy decision, which is why I got 2. I got both things.
Yeah, that's it.
and even though you're only talking about, a large amount of data in an archival storage manner,
Yeah,
just based on some of the other things that you floated past as we were discussing this, I would probably consider the higher end models, the 725 or the 925, only
right.
because you can put more memory in them. You can put up to 32 gig of memory in them. And as
Right.
Eric pointed out, if you get the, what is it, it's the 4-bay unit, the 925 is the 4-bay unit, you can expand that up to 9 bays with the external chassis if at some point you want to add that on. Uh,
Right.
Good
so
point. Yeah.
the lower end
Yeah, I
models
forgot
are
about
limited to
external enclosures that you can expand into. Yeah, interesting. Although,
yeah.
how spendy is that? That's starting to be possibly a little bit high on the money situation. When I was thinking of a little
Although
2-day bay drive, and now I'm thinking of a 7-bay hyper amazing NAS instead of the simple little
yes.
NAS I was
Well,
looking at.
the thing is you don't have to get it all at once either,
Right.
which is nice
True,
about
you
adding
can
the
grow into
external.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I never added the external chassis to my my Synology NAS. So, right now I've got I think like 34 terabytes or something like that in there, and
Wow.
that's good for me. So
Oh yeah,
usable.
exactly. I mean,
It's like
that's a huge amount from my point of view. I was only thinking about 4 to start me off, but yeah, 30 terabytes would be
yeah,
enormous.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's good enough for me. The speed is good enough. For that. As long as it keeps working, I'll just keep using it.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
don't
That's
plan
the
on
main
upgrading.
thing. It being reliable and used for archival. The speed doesn't necessarily matter. It's just like just
Right.
keep stuff safe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you did have an important question, and I did want to touch on this, and then I guess, well, I mean, should we save the conversation for Alex and Sharon for the next episode, or should we tackle that now? Because we're getting a little long now, and I think some of what we're talking about will apply to them. But you had an important question, and we kind of danced around it. You asked what happens when a drive fails, and I think this is important for folks to know, and probably important for us to emphasize. If you have a DAS, let's say you go with that Gemini from OWC, what happens when a drive fails? How do you know if a drive has failed? And the simple answer, because I did look this up and I sent this to you the other day, and we'll just cover that here now, is the light goes red. When a drive fails, the light goes red.
Red blinking lights.
Right.
Now, as I said in the email to you, what happens next depends upon the RAID level that you're using. So
Yes.
if one of the drives is RAID 1, the mirror, or RAID 0, the striping, the light goes red for one of those drives. And then if it's RAID 1, where it's mirrored, well, you can replace that drive and it will rebuild the array. If it's RAID 0, as we talked about, you're going to lose your data.
You cry.
You cry.
That's it.
You cry
You
very,
cry.
very
Yeah.
hard. And you curse
Yeah.
and rue the day that you ever considered one of these external units. But RAID 0, not cool. Don't do it. RAID 1, the light goes red, replace it with another drive and you're on your way. And then likewise, RAID 5, typically, you can't do RAID 5 with the Gemini, actually, because it only has 2 drive bays. But let's say you do have
say you had a 4 or a 5 bay version,
a 4 or 5 bay version, and you've got RAID 5. A very, very similar thing would happen because of the redundancy. Even though the data is striped across all the drives, because of the redundancy, the light would go red. There'd be an indicator of some sort on the drive that failed. You replace that drive and the array rebuilds itself. While you were gone, Eric, we talked about the importance of backing up. And I think we ultimately settled on maybe don't get an external hard drive big enough to hold it all. Maybe sign up for a cloud backup service and run that either directly on the NAS or, run it from the PC that you're connected to so that you can get it backed up.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely cloud-based is, I think, a good idea, especially like if you have a really huge NAS, DAS, whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it does mean you don't have that endless juggle of disks if you are managing your own mirror copies of external disks and so on, and you're ending up juggling data. You can put it all in one place then, and if it is cloud based, then in theory you can then do a restore back to some other storage from anywhere in the world. Whereas if you didn't have that, then you'd be stuck with where you are and what you're doing. Yeah. So not necessarily for me. This is more for Alex, because Alex and Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will tell you, there is such a thing as a manual RAID 1, and I'm going to demo it right now. This is 2 external portable hard drives, and this is essentially a manual RAID 1, where when I need to, and this is, I'll tell you, this is for for Mac Eyes Only episodes that we record. Every episode that we record results in 15 to 20 gigabytes of data sitting on my Mac. Every single one.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And it's a lot of data. So what I do is I take one drive and I label it for the episodes that are on this drive, copy it to it. Then I copy it to the second drive, my mirror, my RAID 1.
Your mirror.
And then once I've got it copied and verified that it's copied to each of the drives, then I remove it from my Mac. So that is a manual RAID 1. Now, the downfall of that is that in addition to these 2 drives, I have a stack of another 4 drives on the shelf to my right that back up the other episode or past episodes that don't fit on these. So
Mike is a actual walking, talking RAID one.
walking, talking
Yeah.
unit when it comes to Formaca's
Mike,
episodes.
Mike is his own RAID enclosure. Indeed.
Now,
Yeah, right.
I'm scared to say that the oldest episodes of Formaca's Only are only backed up on CDs in a case over here to my right. In most cases, I did back them up twice onto 2 discs, but I'm a little afraid to actually stick those discs in a computer and see if they're readable.
Yeah, to see if they can still be read. Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm not sure. So
remember CDs were supposed to last forever.
They're supposed to last forever.
Well, yeah,
but
apparently so. But they
who
don't.
knew?
Yeah.
Who knew about oxidation at that time? Yeah.
Yeah. Because they were made out of the
that's it. I
same
mean,
stuff.
all drives and optical drives as well. All drives can suffer from bit rot, and you end up with the data that you thought you saved isn't necessarily the data that you can retrieve back when you get to read the data back, even if the file system is readable, and that's debatable sometimes as well. So it's a tricky situation. I mean, that's one of the advantages of cloud storage, because it doesn't matter the physical makeup of the drive and the actual format that it's formatted in. None of that matters with cloud storage. So and the fact that because it's redundantly stored on data centers, that you end up not having to worry too much about your very old copies on CD suddenly developing a very cloudy surface that you can't read anymore.
The only thing that matters with cloud storage is your checking account balance.
Right.
Everything else.
Well, there's that.
taken
Yeah,
care
you are
of.
paying for it. Yeah, of course. But of course, when you're talking about hundreds of pounds for drives, and then when you talking about possibly £4 or £5 per month for storage, you'd have to go quite a few years before you equal the cost of a single drive. So it can work out to be a good investment to use cloud storage, even if you're looking after the pennies.
And just to follow up on that, Darren, you mentioned Backblaze, right?
I did, yes.
I looked it up, and Synology and Backblaze have partnered together, so you can back up your Synology NAS to Backblaze.
Oh, that's interesting. That is fantastic. I did not realize that, because I thought that by default, and probably is by default, that when you install Backblaze on your computer, it won't back up network NAS drives that are through the network. It only backs up things that are attached. But of course, since you've just described that you can use software directly on your NAS to talk to your Backblaze account, then that gets around that problem completely. So perfect. That's a really good solution. I like that.
Yeah. And specifically, it works with the Synology Hyper Backup app that comes with the Synology unit, which is super cool because I like Hyper Backup a lot. It works really well. There's tons of different backup solutions for Synology NASs, but I've kind of settled on Hyper Backup. I like it a lot. And that does integrate with Backblaze. So there you go.
Cool.
All right. So let's do this.
One further question.
Oh,
possible.
yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. So my one further question goes away from the NAS and the DAS side, more along the reason of recommendations for day-to-day fast storage directly plugged into your Mac. So say Thunderbolt-based storage, and whether you would say an NVMe drive in an enclosure would be the fastest, or whether a Thunderbolt SSD would be fastest, or whether there wouldn't be much difference in the speed of those two, or whether if you did have enough money to buy a memory stick big enough, that the speed of that would be either comparable to the first two at all.
By memory stick, you mean like?
I wouldn't use a thumb drive. No.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's out of the equation, just particularly for speed. Yeah.
I have both. I mean, I have enclosures that I've stuck a NVMe chip in there, and of course I have SSD. What I'll do is I did speed tests with them. I can send you that
All right. Okay.
afterwards.
Oh, fab.
And
Okay, that'd be
if
handy.
it's
Yeah.
worth
Yeah.
anything, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the purpose, right? I showed this SanDisk portable SSD, which is a 1 terabyte drive earlier, and I've been
Yeah.
very happily editing Final Cut videos off of these external drives.
Oh, in
and
that case, that should be fast enough for
Yeah.
the intended
Oh.
use. Yeah.
yeah, they're USB-C,
Yeah.
so they're not Thunderbolt, but they do up to 800 megabytes per second, so it's fine for my
Oh, that's
purposes.
fast enough. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
But, the OWC does offer Thunderbolt portable external drives. They do offer, if I recall, I'd have to look this up. I'm not 100% certain on this, but I believe they offer even a Thunderbolt thumb drive, which is pretty
Oh,
Yes, that was
freaking
one of the
amazing.
options I was thinking. Yeah.
that
Although
would
I
be kind of
was
cool.
thinking that would be really expensive potentially, although very elegant and because they're quite small.
That would be super.
but-
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not cheap.
Super
but,
cool, absolutely super cool. But I was going to say it's not cheap, is it?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Well, let's look it up. All right, here we go. This is,
Ooh.
I believe this is Thunderbolt. Let's check it out. Maybe I'm incorrect in it being Thunderbolt, but this is something that they offer called the OWC Envoy Pro Mini. So it is essentially a thumb drive, and offers up to 946 megabytes per second, so faster than this SanDisk
Yeah.
drive.
Sort of like a theoretical maximum. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is $249 for 500 gig.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
expensive, but it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Do they do
I have
terabyte
one of their
versions?
envoys.
Probably not. They
And
probably
Yeah.
don't go up to a terabyte, do they?
they
they
do
probably
go up to a
do.
terabyte. Yeah.
They do. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can get 2 terabyte.
Right.
2 terabyte is $470, and 1 terabyte is okay. Inexplicably, 1 terabyte is $249, the same price as 500 gig.
It's 500.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
It's a
what
1
the heck?
terabyte.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool. Get them before they realise they made a mistake.
right.
What-
Well,
what's-
maybe it's a sale or something.
Dude.
Now, it does look like, in
Maybe,
addition to the
yeah.
USB-C connection on one end, you can also do USB-A on the other end.
Yeah,
So-
that could be fun. Yeah.
That could be the up to 940 whatever megabytes per second. So I've not verified that that's
Okay.
Thunderbolt. They do refer to it being a USB-C connection on the one side, but I'll go back to what I did a few
okay.
years ago. If you guys recall, I had that 2012 iMac, and I had a traditional spinning hard drive in it. And at one point, I wanted to install an SSD. So
Yes.
I purchased an SSD. I cloned the Mac to the SSD via
Right.
USB 3, a USB 3 adapter plugged into the back of it, connected to a SATA SSD, not even an M2 NVMe or anything, a SATA SSD
Right.
plugged in via USB 3 on the back of this 2012 iMac. I booted to it to make sure that the clone worked correctly.
Oh,
And it
okay.
worked so well, I just kept booting to this external USB 3
Wow.
SSD until I got around to finally opening up the Mac and replacing it internally, which was like 3 years later.
Wow.
So for 3 years, I
Well,
was
that's
booting
it.
this
I mean,
iMac.
if it's fast enough to boot to, then it's easily fast
Yeah.
enough for
Yeah. And
data usage.
and
Yeah,
it ran
perfect.
fine. So I think it really depends on your expectations. It depends on your need. It depends on the type of data that you're going to be working on off the drive. But there are a bazillion solutions out there. Any one of them could be correct for you depending on the portability or portable needs that you have.
Right. Perfect. Okay, that's good. I think that answers that question as well. Perfect.
Yeah.
I think for myself, I would, because I've got an iMac, one of the things I was looking at was there's a little stand that you can pop your iMac onto. It looks rather good, and it allows you to put an NVMe drive in there. So for me, that would be a good solution. But for Alex, I think something like a nice fast SSD, was that, like your SanDisk there, would be perfect for them. Cool.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and see if you can you summarize the issue that Alex and Sharon are having? And
Oh,
let's
wow.
talk about that. I know, you sent a
Okay.
couple paragraphs, but if I'm correct, the issue
Yes.
is that they have a photo library, and
They have 5 photo libraries, and they're all
five
rather
photo
big.
libraries. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And the problemette is, although Sharon's got a nice new MacBook Air, an M5, yeah, so it's really nice new MacBook Air that has 512 gigs of storage, which is reasonable. But that's not big enough to host a single combined set of libraries, and it would need to host it if they had a local copy of the Photos library stored on disk. So in internal storage, it wouldn't be big enough to do that.
Right.
So that complicates things a little bit. So that means that we'd have to put either keep the photo libraries separated out, although just lasting a few more than what it is at the moment, because currently they're split up into like 5-year chunks, whereas there's more than enough space to make that 10-year chunks instead, so that would be easier to manage. And then do that on fast external storage. Hence the recommendation for which fast external storage they should use to host those photo libraries plugged into a MacBook Air. So that's the first situation. The other consideration is that for archival, it's a bit difficult because they spend quite a few months in the UK and the rest of the time in Australia. So having something like a NAS poses a bit of a difficult problem, because if they have a NAS set up in one country, do they then have to possibly get another NAS in the other country, and do they necessarily have to try to sync them up, or do they use them as independent long-term archive storage units for each one? And then do they maintain them somehow? And if they're in one country, can they maintain the NAS of another country? So it gets difficult when you think about moving regularly every year between countries, spending several months in each one. So that makes the long-term archival of data more complex. But I think separating that out from the day-to-day use from the libraries, if we get a nice portable solution, at least, so that can go with them, they work day-to-day then from that external source, and then just archive the libraries once they finish with them to long-term archival storage to keep them safe in 2 locations. That's what I was thinking.
Okay. So a couple answers
Complicated,
to
isn't it?
well, a couple answers to the myriad questions there. So one of the questions was, can you manage disparate NASs from another country? Yes, you can absolutely, especially the Synology. You can manage that from anywhere. When you sign into it, when you sign into the admin interface, you are going to get the exact same admin interface that you get if you're sitting on the same local network. So yes, you can absolutely manage them. Now, the issue, however, is that with their time away, they need to, or would want to, make sure that there is a decent power backup in place. Excuse me. Power backup in place not only for the NAS, but for the internet, so that in the event that power goes out or internet goes out, they're not down until the next time they go back to that location, which
right,
could happen. Now, the good news is a NAS doesn't draw a lot of power. They sip power for the most part.
Yeah.
And at least in terms of like versus a PC, not versus a Mac, but
Yes.
versus a PC, they sip power and wouldn't take much of a battery backup unit to keep it going in the event of a power outage. Internet would be the question. So as long as internet's up and power's up, yes, you can manage it. Accessing those photo libraries from elsewhere in the world via Synology Drive would not be something that I think I would want to do, because you're
not live, which is, that's right. That's why I'm suggesting local
Yeah.
fast storage to work day to day from. Yeah.
And I think that's where I was getting stuck with this question that you sent, because the NAS seems on the surface like it would be the best solution here, but it's really not. If you need to access those libraries when you are elsewhere, it doesn't matter where you are. You could be across the country, across town, or across the world. Accessing a 1+ terabyte photo library via the equivalent of Dropbox is not the definition of fun. So
No.
I don't know that I would do that. So that goes back to, again, your idea of having multiple redundant fast drives and carrying the libraries with you. Maybe even having one set of drives in one country, one set of drives in the other country, and then one set of drives that is the mechanism by which you bring a backup from one country to the other and then restore it to the working drives. So you have a working drive in one country, working drive in the other country, and then your transport drive, if you will, that brings it from one to the other. So it becomes a manual process, but now you got your manual RAID 1.
That's right. The main goal initially was to make sure the data is at least safe and in multiple locations. And then once we get to a point where the data can be accessed day to day for fast usage whilst they're on the road, or between countries, as it were, you can then have somewhere to archive those files to when you reach the other location.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to make sense, because although they have 5 libraries and they're fairly big, when you add them all together, they're less than half a terabyte. So effectively, a 1 terabyte drive, like dedicated purely to photos, would mean that they wouldn't have to worry too much about the other stuff, because the other stuff can be accessed easier and slower and in long-term archived storage. So and one of the other things we've done is their home movies. We've moved those onto iCloud Drive, so they're accessible. That's one of the reasons why we also wanted to make more use of cloud storage as well, because they're moving between countries. They've always got access to that data from no matter where they are.
And you had a suggestion, I think, Eric.
I think he covered it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You know, for the home movies, or for movies in general, the NAS might work for that. You know, if you're streaming content,
it probably would. Yeah.
You're streaming movies or video content of some sort from a NAS located in one country, and you're streaming it to another because you just simply want to watch it. I think that might actually work pretty well.
Work. Yeah,
I think it would too, provided your connection is good. Yeah.
The biggest issue, I think, in this situation, and the thing that adds complexity to it, is that they have the multiple photo libraries. Because we know, and it's unfortunate, but we know that only the system photo library gets backed up to iCloud. It would be amazing if Apple opened up iCloud, so that it would back up all your photo libraries, but unfortunately it's only the system photo library. So having the 5 different photo libraries is, or in my case, 2. I have 2. I had more, but 2 photo libraries. My system photo library, and then my DSLR photo library, as I call it.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
DSLR library is on a dedicated SSD. The system photo library is on a spinning drive. I have it on an external spinning drive. And then the biggest issue was backing it all up. So I had to purchase an 18 terabyte hard
Oh
drive
dear.
to back up not only my internal drive on the Mac, but the
Right.
external 8 terabyte that holds my system photo library and a whole bunch of other junk, my Plex library and all that other stuff. And then also the 2 terabyte drive that holds my DSLR photo library. So being
Yeah.
able to back
Yeah.
all that up and have room to have, to be able to go back in time, as it were, because I do use Time Machine to back it all up, is required a large drive. And that was the thing that took me the longest to get to. And that's why this desktop drive is sitting here, because this was my backup drive until I rolled out that solution and ended up needing to come up with a much larger backup drive to handle everything. But
Which drive do you have?
for backups,
Yeah, your 18
I
terabyte.
I actually purchased a Western Digital.
Okay.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
works fast when you use Time Machine to go back and recover something or
fast enough. I mean,
check on something.
I just needed to back up my data, and then on the occasional instance where I need to restore something, if I have to wait a little bit longer, it's fine, because
Yeah.
I'm just restoring my data.
No, I have mine. It's a Western Digital too, but I got it on a deal. Uh, it well, it's not enough to back up my drive because it's only 12 terabytes. But it when I go into it to recover something, it takes forever to like load up and
Oh,
to
to get to the
go
point,
to
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And I was
You're
just
right. It does
wondering
do
if
that.
that was
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was going to joke that, I didn't buy mine from the back of a donkey. You said you got yours in a deal, but no,
It was a Prime Day deal.
well, essentially the same
So
thing.
the donkey was
Yeah,
it was a mule. No,
that's right. No, you're right. Actually, it does do that, and I didn't think about that until you mentioned it. But the initial load of here are your Time Machine backups that you can scroll through and get to them. Yeah, that does take a little bit to come up. But you know what? I'm looking to restore data, not for speed in
yeah,
that case. So
right. No,
I'm
I
not
was just
too
wondering
concerned
if it
about
was
that.
my thing or yeah. No,
No, because it's a USB drive. It's a USB drive and it's
right.
huge and it takes forever to scroll through and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Woo! What else do we need to
Cool.
cover on this
Excellent. Well,
topic?
well,
Did,
well, I think that's everything. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
it seems like I need to reevaluate NAS versus DAS, and I think I might go down the NAS route
so
now. I think I've been persuaded.
we
Um,
spent enough of your money,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
and
spent huge amounts of my money. That's the
and
thing. I got to
and
look into what to buy, whether to go with a 2 bay or maybe a 4 bay, or expand my horizons a tad. Yeah.
it's tough. I would go 4 bay because you can start with 2
Yeah.
drives and then do the expansion
Yes.
later
Yep.
and know that 4
Exactly.
bay,
Yeah. Yeah. That's sensible.
yeah, the 4 bay unit, if you go with the higher end, which you don't have to, but if you go with the higher end, you know that you can put more memory in it. You can ultimately run virtual machines on it. You can do other services
It'll
on it
last
that
longer.
it could potentially
Yeah.
last longer.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms
Yeah.
of,
That's it. I mean,
yes,
well,
your
the
ability to
current
grow
models
with
are
it.
25
Yeah.
model something.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So that's me sorted out really, and of course my own storage is fairly easy, plugged in directly to the Mac, because I've got my eye on an NVMe enclosure, which would be perfect for pairing with my iMac.
Yeah.
And for Alex and Sharon, sounds like all they need at the current time is a SanDisk external SSD to dedicate to their photo libraries, and then we can
3.
move from there, because we've already made the rest of the data safe on other storage, and we can figure out a bit later down the road where we want to go down the road of having um, something more substantial. Um, They may not choose to do that, but yeah, there's options there later on, as you say, for potentially hosting a media library in one country that you can still maintain from another. The only difficulty is then having to learn about essentially DSM, the new operating system on that NAS, how to maintain it, and so on. Although it's fairly straightforward, but then that might not be quite as straightforward for Alex and Sharon as it is for us.
It's basically Windows or the Mac. It's a graphical operating system, super easy to use, and you can even set it up so that the Synology automatically updates itself. So you don't even have to worry about going in and checking for updates. It'll update itself and reboot and do everything. But it's literally a graphical user interface. It's super easy to use.
And, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? But just
exactly.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the only other thing I'd say about Alex and Sharon is yes, one drive would absolutely do it. Get one portable SSD, and you could absolutely use that to transport your libraries back and forth. Just keep in mind you don't have the redundancy when you do that. So I would consider, if it's within the budget, getting one at each location, and then getting one for transporting the data back and forth. And then on top of that, get a license for SuperDuper or Carbon Copy Cloner, because once you get your transport drive to one location or the other, fire up your script for Carbon Copy Cloner or SuperDuper, let it get everything up to date.
Funny you should say that. We've just updated them to a license for Carbon Copy Cloner, so that's already there and on the cards.
There you go.
Ready for cloning drives. Cool.
All right. So then we'll ask, what are your backup solutions? How do you keep gigabytes and terabytes of data back, not only easily accessible, but backed up? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments of this week's show notes, found at formacisonly.com. Before we get on to the other, I did want to get to a couple comments from Brian in the chat here. He did say, yes, this is a really good point, and I wanted to bring this up here. He did say that if only focused on having a backup, not necessarily differentiating between cloud and local aspects of storage, there definitely is a break-even point when paying for a subscription. And that's that's very, very true, and something that you need to look at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, gosh darn it, go away.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Very good point.
Which, by the way, I really wanted to make that show with the Bryans, and it was a weekend from hell, so it didn't happen. So, which was too bad.
It could have been 5 of us. It could have been loads. Loads of us all.
Yeah.
It was a very good show, and you're just going to have to think about that next time, mister.
Well, I don't know that I would have had much to add to it. So it actually was a very great show. No, it was good. So,
well, that brings us up to this episode's For Mac Only Quick Tip, and this tip has to do with voice memos. Now, I think most people know that the awesome Voice Memos app exists on the Mac. It also exists on your iPhone and iPad. But did you know that you can create transcriptions of your recordings with a simple click of the button? I didn't.
Brilliant.
At least
hidden feature.
Not until recently. And it's super simple to do. With a voice memo recording selected, you just look for the little transcribe button, and in the Mac, it's in the top right of the voice memos window. And it looks like a little speech balloon with a double quote inside of it. You press that button, and in most cases, you're either going to see the transcription immediately, or you're going to see the words transcription in progress, while the Mac or the iPhone chews on what you recorded before it displays you the text. Now, I do say most cases because while I could get the Mac to transcribe just about all of my saved messages, even messages that went back several years, I couldn't get it to transcribe all of them. it simply would report that it couldn't transcribe the audio. Now, I'm not sure why that was, because listening to it, it really didn't sound any different than any of the other voice recordings. But testing on the Mac and the iPhone for those audio recordings yielded the same result. So while this is a fantastic feature to transcribe the audio of your recordings, just know that once in a while it may not work. But despite those edge cases, it does otherwise work really, really well. It's super fast. And once the transcription is completed, here's the super cool part. You can select the you can select the text and you can copy it for pasting anywhere else on your Mac. So that is my tip for this episode. Take advantage of the transcription of audio in voice memos on your Mac.
Fabulous.
It's an awesome tip.
Yeah.
No, it's a great app too. It's extremely easy to use, and yeah, it's really good. In fact, I just used it the other day on the iPhone, and I started thinking how they always said, the best camera is the one you have with you, and I'm like, the best recorder is the one you have with you too, and so
absolutely,
yeah, no, it's awesome.
I mean, imagine.
Yeah, I did see. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I did see a famous person in the back of a taxi cab whilst they were writing their next song, and they were using voice memos to record ideas for the track whilst they were composing and so on. So you can use it for all sorts of things. It doesn't have to be a voice memo.
And we just got a hi in the chat room from Nick in Germany. Hey, Nick. Good to have you join us. That's awesome.
Cool. Hey, Nick.
Glad you could be here. So, and Nick, there you go. All right. There, he just disappeared again. Oh, guess what? That brings us up to our essential app this week. Now, I said at the beginning that Eric might not get this reference. I'm pretty sure Darren's going to get this reference, but it is a classic game that I just love. And it's called Set Willy. Set Willy is one of my all-time favorite games. Next to Pitfall, next to Doom, I have probably put more hours into moving our pal Miner Willy from room to room than any other game. So imagine my surprise when I learned in the latest edition of Next Magazine. Next Magazine is a magazine for those who own the ZX Spectrum Next, by the way. In the latest issue of Next Magazine, that not only was there a version of the game released in 2006 called Set Willy Online, but that I completely missed that the online version ever existed. So bummed.
Wow,
I didn't know there was an online version.
Wow.
And I also missed that now there is a new release that was, until recently, called Set Willy Next, but is now called jetsetwilly.net. Now, jetsetwilly.net is a single or multiplayer game that harkens back to another network favorite of mine, something that we used to play on our Novell networks all the time called Pack Wars, where you can play classic Set Willy all by yourself, or you can set up a multiplayer game by either joining another server, active server out there on the internet, or by hosting your own server. Not only that,
well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. And you can even design your own Miner Willy to stand out from the crowd. Now, here's the even
awesome.
better part.
You have to say that carefully.
Set Willy. Oh, dear. Leave it to the Brit. Leave it to the Brit.
Yeah, no kidding.
Of course.
jetsetwilly.net. Here's the best part. All right.
That's why Mike still needs to edit these shows.
I need to. Right. Nick is going to benefit from the editing of this show when all is said and done, because he said he didn't catch the beginning, but he's going to listen to the audio. Good for you, Nick, because you're not going to hear any of this. It's going to sound like we actually knew what we were talking about. Here's the best news.
Uh,
JetSetWilly.net runs on macOS. It runs on Windows. It runs on Linux. It runs on Raspberry Pi. It runs on Steam Deck. And, of course, it runs on the ZX Spectrum Next. So, what is it? Well, written by developer Maus, that's M-A-U-S, like the German mouse, JetSetWilly.net is an expanded, I'm going to quote them, it's an expanded modern re-implementation of Ovine by Design's Jet Set Willy Online from 2006. And JetSetWilly.net features graphics from Andy Noble's Jet Set Willy PC from 1999. And it leans heavily on, of course, Matthew Smith's original 1984 ZX Spectrum game, Jet Set Willy.
yes.
Now, JetSetWilly.net is completely rewritten from scratch. It is a completely new multiplayer reimagining of the game, which is super exciting to me. And it allows you to explore hundreds of rooms, dodge enemies, collect items, just like Jet Set Willy of days gone by. But it adds that added capability of being able to compete with friends in a variety of different game modes, which is super cool. So the bullet points are, you can play up to 16 players online, hundreds of rooms, ZX Spectrum accurate physics, which is cool, multiple graphic modes, custom map support,
Wow.
custom map support.
Oh.
Yeah. Multiple game modes, so you can play games where you're running around, collecting items. You can race against each other. You can time the games. You can do tag teams, things like that. And you can run it as a dedicated server in a headless mode. Even better, it's continually updated. So the last update for JetSetWilly.net came out on August 4th, 2026. Now, some of my personal favorite features include the ability to switch from synth audio, synth music, to a more Spectrum-like AY chip version of the music, which sounds very much like the original Spectrum versions. Options to change how the screen looks, so you can mimic pretty much any TV or monitor that you might have hooked your ZX Spectrum up to. Controls that are faithful to the original Spectrum release, or it will happily work with a Bluetooth game controller if that's your preference. I've done it both ways, and I actually like the keyboard better. There are options to change the gameplay, and it does have a full-on, quiet Darren, it has a full-on Willypedia that not only delves deeper into the gameplay, but also offers a full history of Matt Smith's Manic Miner, Jet Set Willy, and all the myriad sequels. And here's my absolute favorite bit. If you owned an original copy of Jet Set Willy, then did you own Jet Set Willy, Darren? The original?
Yes, I have got a cassette somewhere. I did have a cassette somewhere.
Okay.
Yes.
I actually purchased my copy in 1985 in Berlin, Germany. That's where I purchased my copy of it.
Right.
And if you recall, the original version of Jet Set Willy had a color card in it. This was their copy protection. So every time you booted up the game, it would give you
yes.
It would give you numbers. I think it gave you, and then you had to correspond those numbers to colors on the color card, and you had to put in those colors. And if you got them right, you could play the game, right? Well, the idea, of course, was that those extra steps would prevent folks from copying the cassette and handing it to a friend, because piracy of cassette games was rife. Well, despite there being many, many workarounds, many of which were published in the computer magazines of the day, the least of which was you could, even though color copying wasn't really much of a thing back then, you could copy the color code card, even if not by color. You could, cipher substitute letters for the colors and have your own color card, even if it's black and white, right? Well, here's the cool thing. JetSetWilly.net uses a similar color scheme, not for copy protection, but to protect the hosted servers for online games, which I think is just absolutely brilliant. If you're going to have a callback to the original Matt Smith game from 1984, which, by the way,
That's
Matt
good.
Smith was like 17 when he developed these games.
Yes.
Wow.
But if you're going to have a callback, it's going to be using the color card. I mean, come on, that is
Yeah.
brilliant. So, if you are a fan of the classic game Jet Set Willy, or even Miner Willy or Manic Miner, which was the very first game,
Yep.
or even if you've never heard of it, but want to get a taste of the awesomeness that was Miner Willy, you can check out jetsetwilly.net at, unsurprisingly, jetsetwilly.net. So, that is my essential app. It does not run on iOS. It does run on the Mac, and it's super, super cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So
I wonder if we
so
should set
potentially,
up a for Mac Eyes Only jetsetwilly.net server.
Yeah.
funny you should say that, because that's exactly what I was just about to ask. Like, wouldn't it be wonderful to have not only an FMEO server for Jet Set Willy, but also a custom level, a custom FMEO focused level design for
That would be
cool. Our own Jet Set Willy
That
game.
would be really cool.
Perfect.
All right, so here's the deal. If you're listening to this and you would play Jet Set Willy online at a custom for Mac Eyes Only, we could even schedule times of gameplay, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and you would join us for games of Jet Set Willy in any of the different game modes on our own for Mac Eyes Only Jet Set Willy server. Drop me a line, mike@formaceyersonly.com. Let me know.
Cool.
And if we get enough of you together, we'll set that up. I think that'd be super cool.
Superb. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll be well in for that. Yeah.
And with that said, that is going to do it for this episode of For Mac Eyes Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I do love to get your letters. So if you have a comment about the show, a tip to share, a software or hardware problem with your Mac, you can leave your favorites in the comments of this week's show notes found at formaceyersonly.com, or you can drop me a line, mike@formaceyersonly.com. And you can subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV and click the little notification bell so you can find out when we are going live. You can join the chat room, and you can catch all the behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Hey, Eric, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I don't have a full list like you do, but Eric at formaceyersonly.com. That is the best way to get a hold of me. And I answer too. So it's a good thing.
He'll answer you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just caught up in Darren. Tomorrow is Cornish pastry baking day, and I don't know what that is, but it's really kind of
what Cornish pasty day, is it?
Yes, that's what Nick is telling us in the chat room. That it's Cornish pasty day tomorrow. Pasty day. Baking day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Baking day, is it baking? So yeah,
he's got
Cornish pasties. Yes, you have to have in order to call them a Cornish pasty, it has to be have the exact recipe from a Cornish pasty. You can't have these extra little things added in which case you can't call it a Cornish pasty.
Of course not. Right.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we got several other types of pasties as well, but they're all really good.
Baking day.
Oh,
he
did
just
mean
corrected it. Baking day. Yes. Okay. Got
That's
it.
it. Baking day. Yes. Cornish pasty baking day.
With that rabbit hole out of the way, Darren, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you?
Oh, yes. If only someone could email me a pasty, that would be fantastic. But if you did want to email me a digital pasty, you can email me at darren@formaceyersonly.com.
Excellent. And I think Nick's going to get on that. He's going to email you a Cornish pasty. I'm sure.
Quite right too.
I'm sure he will. Nick likes to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Eric and Darren for joining me this episode. Stay subscribed. and we'll talk to you next time. All right. Well, we got the show wrapped up. Cool. And all right, we covered everything. We covered everything we wanted to talk about. That we got to all 4 questions plus your bonus question.
Perfect.
Yeah. In only 2 hours.
Well,
And if anybody can do it faster, I'd like to see. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. If you want to explore all those options, I mean, you can't rush these things. So yeah, that's kind of yeah. We're normally around the 1.5 to 2 hours mark, aren't we, for show length?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's not too. It's not too scary compared to our usual show length.
No, not at all.
No.
And we got see you later from our pals Brian and Nick in the chat room. So see you guys later. And I think with that, we'll probably go ahead and wrap up the live stream. So I'm going to throw up the end card, guys, and then I'll be right back with you in just a second. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Oh, September 25th. Next episode, September 25th. See you then. All right. Now, bye. See you later.
Radio. Okay.
Right.
Cheerio.
Bye.